So David Sullivan apparently has stopped talking to the media as they have stopped their support of him. Now that, my friends, is very, very significant. Got to say before we start the video, thank you for my friends at OK Jersey. You can get the link in the description there or the QR code for an 8% discount. Use Nicky. You can get all your football shirts there. But thank you very much for sponsoring this video. But David Sullivan, as I said, has stopped talking to the media. Now, this, my friends, this is significant because what David Sullivan has always done, and I'll get up the article for you so I can just read a little bit. And this is according to ex-West Ham employee, I think broke this, and over at West Ham Way. Go and support them guys. Big fan of them guys over there. But apparently, it says here, an article by Henry Green. It says David Sullivan is nearing breaking point with West Ham United supporters yet again following his failures in recent years. West Ham fans left the London Stadium in floods during the Premier League showdown with Tottenham on Saturday, eventually losing 3-0. Pressure continues to mount on the board, with West Ham supporters wanting Sullivan to step down as chairman and poor transfer window. Tensions are set to snap between the fans and the Hammers hierarchy after 3 defeats from 4, with relegation a strong prospect again this season. Now, let me just cut in there. Listen, we'll have to get Sean back on the scene because obviously Sean is a journalist that David Sullivan talks to. But we spoke to Sean Whetstone a little while ago, and I was telling him I'm sick of him, and I'm sick of the fact that he keeps on leaking this information to them. And when he was questioning me about whether or not he thought me and Dan thought we would go down, and he would have asked Ryan and Scott and Graham if they would have been on. And he was very shocked when I said, yes, I do believe this team could go down. And that seems to be a reflection of the boardroom. And the boardroom don't think we could go down because the boardroom, I'm afraid, are so far up their own arse, they could brush the fucking backs of their teeth with their hair. That's how far up their own fucking arses they are. But we'll carry on. So it says here, David Sullivan stopped talking to West Ham media. Sullivan's job isn't the only one under threat, as Graham Potter could be sacked should this side continue to let opposition roll over them. The decisions that led up to appointing the former Chelsea boss have caused frustration among fans, with plenty still believing it was the wrong decision to sack David Moyes after he won the Conference League. Now, I don't believe it was the wrong decision to. I mean, he wasn't sacked. It was a mutual parting. But as I said, I wasn't always saying that David Moyes going was the wrong thing. In fact, I was quite vocal about him going. But look at the Tottenham situation. It's not about who goes; it's about who comes in, and that, my friends, is one of the reasons why David Sullivan can't succeed. He doesn't go and find a man that anybody wants. To be quite honest with you, he's always finding men that are out of work. He's always finding men that are surplus to requirements elsewhere. So, yeah. So David Moyes is no exception in that, by the way, because he was out of work. We just got lucky, I believe. It seems that recent criticism of Sullivan has been too much to bear. Ex-West Ham employee speaking on his Patreon podcast. As I said, big up them. Go and support them because they break a lot of this news. Shared the drastic measures that has taken in recent weeks at the London Stadium. He said David Sullivan has stopped talking to West Ham news outlets and journalists because they aren't supporting him in the media. The crushing defeat to Spurs and the reaction from fans sparked plenty of conversation, with the narrative that Sullivan needs to step down and being heavily pushed from all angles. Now, this is fantastic news, to be quite honest with you. There are protests coming up right now. And what he's talking about there about West Ham news outlets and West Ham media is, I don't know. Listen, I'm not a West Ham. I am a West Ham news outlet, but they don't talk to me because I don't push their narrative. And I haven't pushed their narrative ever. This channel has never taken a favour off the board. This channel has never taken any liberties with the football club or anything of that ilk. I'm very, very proud of that as well, because at the heart of it all, we are fans, and for the duration that we've done this channel, we've never felt that the board were doing it for us, and we never felt that the board were doing the right thing. And so we've refused to work with a football club. We've turned down things from the football club, to be quite honest with you. We've turned down favours. We've spoke to them, but not in return for any positive feedback. And listen, you only have to go back 10 years from our from our older videos to see that we have never been listen, I've been accused lately of being a bald stooge, but I'm definitely not a bald stooge. If you go back and see my stance over the years, you'll see how much of a bald stooge I am. I mean, some of the post-match pints early days were very, very colourful language, when we was first starting. So what does it mean? It means that the media is starting to wake up, and the media are starting to push a different narrative, and the media are starting to realise maybe they're not fucking wrong. The people that are saying these things, I've had it with Jeff Stelling, people have had it with Jim White, them two especially, where you start to push this narrative. They start to push this narrative, and you telling them the truth, and they're so desperate to debunk your theory. It's not a theory, it's what we know, but they're so desperate to not let us tell the world what the fuck is going on at West Ham United. And that has been going on for years, for probably 10 years, right? They're very favourable with the board. They get information from the board. You see Jim White sitting down with him, TalkSport sitting down with him to explain himself. So many years that they've done that. And that is where Sullivan has lived in a little bubble. No one can get to him if his friends at the media are not telling the truth. Nobody. Now, there is so many calls about protests. And I've got to say this, and I know a lot of people said, like, well, that letter of no confidence, what does it do? Well, this is what it's done. This is what it's done. It's highlighted to the media exactly the reasons why the people are unhappy. And the media seem to have read that and read the reasons and read the points and thought, do you know what? They've got a fucking point here, these people, 10 years. I know we won the Conference League. I know we've done a couple well for a couple of years. But when you look at the crux of it and what we've been told this season, selling our best players again, this stadium move was supposed to be the move away from being that small club at Upton Park. And I was quite happy to be that small club at Upton Park. So does everybody else. But that's what the board said. That's why we're moving. And it's come very apparent over the past 10 years. If you're just watching for the first time, I know I'm telling a few of you to suck eggs, but it's become very apparent over the last 10 years that is not the fucking case whatsoever. This stadium does us no favours. In fact, Tony Cottee saw what happened at the London Stadium, and he saw the way we've been beat over the last 10 years, and he said the London Stadium's too friendly. And that is at the crux of it is what made us West Ham United. The stadium was hostile for visiting players. They didn't want to come and play there. They didn't fancy it. The players that were playing there felt the crowd, felt the passion, felt the heat. And a lot of the time, and when you see what happened, a lot of the times they would fight. And when you see what happened at Tottenham on Saturday, the way we just rolled over and rolled into our shell, that has happened far too many times. And that is all the fucking doing of David Sullivan, David Gold, God bless his soul, and I never talk ill of it did, but you've got to mention, he had part of this as well, and Karen Brady, who thinks this was a successful migration, a successful stadium move, one of the most successful in history, she said. World-class team for world-class stadium. We've got neither. We ain't got neither, right? And the problem is that they've never believed that they was going to do that. But as long as they can perceive that they're trying, or as long as they can get their friends in the media to perceive and tell the whole world, these West Ham fans are just miserable. They're just old-fashioned, delusional people that have taken what we've said out of context. And you all know that we didn't say that. You all know that they're talking a bit of bullshit. Well, now the mainstream media are starting to realise that we wasn't talking bullshit, and in fact, the bullshit is coming from the BS. The bullshit is coming from Brady and Sullivan. The BS. The BS is coming from the BS. So he's scared now. He's frightened. He's panicking. He is scrambling. He's hiding away in his little hole. And it would not surprise me if on Saturday he didn't turn up. It's going to get worse from now because the Brentford game scheduled on the 20th of October is marked for boycott. Now I will be boycotting the game. I've had to make a decision or two about my son and whatever. It's not his fault. He don't want to protest. I don't support that. I don't want to force anyone to protest if they don't want to. But he doesn't really understand what's going on. And he doesn't really understand what happened at Upton Park and what we've lost. And pretty much he was born in 2011. He did go to Upton Park as a youngster, but that's all he knows. And that is the problem with these youngsters these days. A lot of them, that's all they know. They only know the London Stadium. But the heat is coming up now. And the time for protest is right now. You need to get out there. If you want this football club back, and if you want them people to get their greasy little, grubby little, grimy hands off of it, you have to go out there and have your voice made. And I will be going out there and having my voice made. I want to talk to people. We've got a call-in show tomorrow. It's going to be a bit earlier than normal. It's going to be at 5 o'clock, but we've got a call-in show tomorrow. Please call in and tell me what you're planning to do with the protest, what you want to talk about. Is the we had Dave on last week who was saying he don't think the protest will achieve anything. Now that's Dave's opinion, and we will never ever nullify opinion, and people should not start to have a go at people for having an opinion. That's his opinion, and he said he won't be getting involved in it. He may change his mind. That's what we want to do. We want to debate and we want to change people's minds. And whoever gives us the best the call in tomorrow on OK Jerseys, we'll give you a code for 2 free shirts. There you go. So 2 free shirts for the best caller on OK Jerseys tomorrow. But yes, he's shitting himself, and God forbid he may go. He may be planning to sell now because this is becoming very uncomfortable. I say God forbid. I mean God willing. God willing, he's ready to go now. I think this is getting very uncomfortable. I think it's going to get a bit messier before it gets neater. But people are starting to show their disdain with their feet. They're starting to protest with their presence, and that is something that is never seen before. And not only that, the mainstream media seem to know what we're protesting about now. But there you go. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. As I said, check out OK Jerseys. 8% discount. Use code Nicky, which is down there. It's lowercase, so you can use that right there. And yeah, BS out. One thing left to say. Come on, you irons.